This is Fins TV, a Miami Dolphins inspired podcast. It's fueled by the power of positivity.
Welcome to Fins TV. I'm your host, Fins Sammy, aka Fins Boston. As always, my co-host Steve. Hello, Steve. Welcome to a celebration of huge week of Fins TV.
Happy Victory Tuesday, Sammy. Hello to Fins Nation, Fins TV viewers out there. We appreciate you joining us and being on with us. But absolute roller coaster of a day on Sundays. Much steeper of a roller coaster ride for some than others. But in the end, we came out with a win. I think we've got a lot to unwrap today, and I'm really looking forward to cutting it up with you here. But, Sammy, I've got one question to ask you, and I've been wondering this since Sunday. Everybody's a big Jalen Phillips fan. And I just got to wonder, how hyped was your daughter to have Jalen Phillips back on the field and then for him to capture that sack? It had to have been incredible for her.
Absolutely, she was so excited. You know, she's been waiting for this day for a whole year. Like her friend Lisa Siegel, I think Natalia's my daughter fandom is only surpassed by Lisa Siegel's fandom. So she was really excited. We all were when he got that sack. It was a huge moment for everybody. We're so happy to see Jalen back, but it was a huge moment for her. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely.
So, on this episode, we're gonna look back at at the week it was at the Jaguars game. A whole lot of emotions, if you know what I mean about that Jaguars game. Also, we're gonna play some outmakers with our friends and our special guests, Jake Mendel, and our guest panelist Jason Sarney on some outmakers on the Miami Dolphins defense. And also, we're gonna look forward to the huge matchup under the lights at Hard Rock Stadium between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. It for sure is going to be a huge matchup. Can't wait for that on Sunday. We're waiting for the whole year after that last game of the season for a rematch game. So we're going to get it early on the lights at Hard Rock Stadium.
Always on edge. I'm always nervous when the season kicks off. Bills week takes it up about 10 notches. It's already in me. Sunday night, I was enjoying the victory, but man, I was already tied up thinking it's Bills week.
Absolutely. So we're going to start first with a look back at the game it was between the Dolphins and the Jaguars.
Ahead. And a big run right here by H.M. Breaking tackles. Downfield he goes. Lawrence, here comes Colt. Ahead. And a big run right here by H.M. Breaking tackles. Downfield he goes. Lawrence, here comes Colt. Campbell. Campbell. Robinson the block. Going deep, and he's got it at the goal line. Flag thrown. First and goal. ETN torpedoes in. Touchdown. 4th and 3. Out of the backfield, H.M. Blocked.
Maybe it's series the series.
ETN the back, 3rd and 8. Right on the money. 1 and 10. Trevor Lawrence to the air. Harrison the block to the end zone. Caught. Mostert in the backfield. Armstead the block. Tua on the run, and he's got the first down. 3rd down, 8. Going deep, and he has the completion. In the 6 defensive backs. He'll swing under the 10. It's Hill holding on for dear life. Joe Farlow. H.M. And that is in a touchdown. And the kick is away, and the kick will be good. 3rd and 13. Moving up. Oh, he's brought down. Hit on the play by Eric Armstead. Mendel the block in the middle. Time for Tua winding up. Going. He's got Waddle. Here he goes. That's a full race. Cisco gets him from behind. Oh, he can fly. Pressure. Walker. What a great. ETN the back. 1st and 10. ETN. Big block in there by Robinson. It did. close.
But as you said, one catch for 7 yards today.
Second down, 3. Look at the run here by Jeff Wilson. No wind, 92 degrees, and we are tied. 3rd and 14. Look out! Another sack. Jalen Phillips this time. 3rd Miami sack. 2nd down, 6. Tagovailoa laces one upfield. It's Waddle once again. He's in a big game. Achane in motion, most in the backfield. Achane's got the ball. Gets a nice block from Hill. A 52-yard field goal try to break a tie. And the kick is up, and it's going to be good from 52. Miami shows, and the clock has won on a game-winning 52-yard field goal.
Huge week for the Dolphins. Kevin Hardock makes that week so much better. But it was so exciting for those who were at the stadium after an incident outside the stadium with Tarek Hill and the Miami-Dade Police Department. The Dolphins found a way to win the game. So we're to talk about the next segment at the time is now about Dolphins dealing with adversity, but the Dolphins certainly plus they were more tougher mentally and physically as they then came down to the last wire to the Jaguars. What are your thoughts about the game, Steve?
Sammy, well, first of all, your recaps always bring back so much, and I'm a fan first, and I'm a part-time podcaster with you guys having some fun here on the side. So I think I just need to go back and start rewatching the games, or just get access to your recaps much earlier, because it just shows so much of the game that I think I missed because I'm just so absorbed in the moment. And but in any case, no, the game, I think it was like a 3.5 hour, condensed version of my off season. And I know during the off season, Fins TV, we really go on hiatus. We might do one show around, a few shows here and there, but we really don't do that many. But anybody that does listen to me and sees some of my tweets, I tend to have a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. But the game started off, we were getting into the Jags territory. We weren't scoring points. It was extremely frustrating. We started, we'd go into the season with all this hype, and then here I am thinking we're just a bunch of rubes that don't belong on the field with this team. And then the second half started, and it's just back to thinking, maybe it's not so bad after all. How about this for a concept that we're really not that used to here in Miami? Halftime adjustments on defense. Seriously, defensive coordinator Weaver, what a phenomenal job that they did to turn that around. Javon Holland to go out there and punch that ball out. That was really the entire momentum shift that we needed. Because, if ETN scores there, who knows what's going to happen. But that just really swung the momentum on our side. Special teams, I can't give enough of a shout out. I know I'm going to be taking some of Jason Sarney's steam here because he's the special teams king. But aside from the one really bad kick from Jason Sanders there, it was incredible. And I don't know who this Jake Bailey is and what he did with the punter that we had last year, but he came out absolutely killing it. 4 punts, 3 of them were inside the 20, 1 at the 4, 1 at the 3-yard line. Are you kidding me? It was absolutely incredible. And as then you got Jason Sanders coming back to remind us of that Dallas Cowboys game from last year where he kicked 5 to win it for us and just putting us, in the lead with no time left on the clock. It was absolutely incredible. Winning the turnover battle is always key. Shutting an offense down after they kind of ran all over us in the first half like that. In the second half, we didn't give anything to them. So it was awesome. When the clock hit 0, the Dolphins were on top and we won, and that's really all that matters.
Absolutely. It was really frustrating. The preseason being a game less, the Dolphins not having the whole team practiced that much during the whole preseason, during the preseason games. The first game is huge for 2 reasons. The continuity wasn't there. You can see that they probably weren't up to they were not as a collective unit as they probably will be hopefully by the end of the year. But the Dolphins find a way. Mentally, they were tough. You can see the Jaguars slowing down, getting tired, and that was when the Dolphins certainly rose up to the moment and found a way to win the game. For me, that was huge. They mentally they did what they needed to do.
Sorry, the offensive line showed up. And I've been a huge critic of theirs for many years. I think a lot of us have been. I've been kind of, up in the brig, kind of driving this, or down in the brig for, putting them down. But in any case, so no, they really showed up. They did their job. It's not like we were going against a juggernaut defense, but they're in the NFL, and you're playing against some very good defenders and a very well coached team. So again, we won, and that's really what matters.
Absolutely. So we're gonna go right next, and we're gonna be joined by our special guest, Jake Mendel from another Dolphins podcast, and the hardest working man in Dolphins Nation, Jason Sarney, and of course, Mr. Perfect for the Fins TV crew, Man Armstrong. Good evening, guys.
Sammy, it's great to see y'all.
Nice to see
Good
you.
to see you guys always.
Thank you for being here. I'm gonna start with Jake. Jake, a huge win despite what happened before the game. The Dolphins certainly found a way to win. They look mentally strong and they look physically strong with the heat, and they kept pounding and they fight running the ball, even though it didn't work at the start of the game. What are your thoughts about the Jaguars game?
I think you guys kind of hinted at it with the idea that we only have 3 preseason games to work with. Where, I mean, I go back to those Belichick teams, and it seems like we quickly forget the idea of Bill Belichick felt that the September games was the extension of the preseason, where you wouldn't have a lot of guys playing in the preseason games. You'd feel things out in September. I mean, what was it, guys? 2013 when Deion Sims caught a touchdown in the back of the end zone.
Wow.
Dolphins were up 3-0 on the division. Pats were like 1-3 the next week. The Pats come in and kill them by like 40 or something like that. So it's such a long season, and it's so easy to get caught up in one game. But at the end of the day, we aren't going to remember the fact that the Dolphins fumbled the first game or the first play against the Chargers. We don't remember the fact they fumbled away the first drive against the Chargers. We remember the fact that they beat the Chargers, and it's going to be the same for this Jaguars game.
Absolutely. Jason, it was a huge win for the Dolphins. The game was marred by what happened outside the stadium. We're going to talk a little bit later about that later during the show. But I want to know your thoughts about it. Was personally, if you ask me, probably was a bigger win this year to beat the Jaguars under the circumstances there was last year to beat the Chargers.
Well, listen, I loved how they were able to kind of get into a mentally tough mindset, and with their backs up against their own end zone, Javon Holland made a play of the ages for me. I mean, for him to have that premeditated wind up, he knew exactly what he was doing. So to say that, or anyone on social media, that the Jaguars fumbled or they shot themselves in the foot, no, there was zero fault from the running back, Travis Etienne. That was just 100% a Javon Holland play. And not taking it away from Holland, I think that there's an overall mindset that has been shifted, and we kind of heard it with Jordan Poyer in the summer telling, Miami media that this team used to be soft. Everyone thinks the Dolphins are soft, but I think that they're going to change that. And we just literally saw it happen, but beyond the Holland fumble, the play afterwards is what really opened up my eyes. And it's like, all right, we're going to go for the jugular. I'm all for this. Forget the, slow and steady. Let's not screw it up. Let's just strike while the iron's hot. And it was a 4-second, 14-point swing, essentially. And, Kevin Holland was waiting all afternoon for that. So were we. That once I think that play happened, that's when I feel like it was like, all right, here we go.
Absolutely. Well, Matt, you're always the positive one over here. I'm pretty sure you felt very confident about the Dolphins winning the home opener, but even you, the most confident, most positive guy I know, on the Dolphins, talking about the Dolphins, when that when we were back, trailing the Jaguars, certainly. So tell me some doubt creep into your mind, at least for a second. Admit that for me. Come on.
So the first half was reminiscent of Dolphins games, Dolphins season openers over the last 15 years, maybe even longer than that. You're so amped, you're so excited. It's game one, and they fall flat on their face. I made a comment earlier. Dolphins teams in the past, that fumble goes out of bounds, or worse, the fumbling team recovers it. The struggles that they had in the first half, in the past they would bode as this is what we have to look forward to And on Sunday, I really felt like this is no different than the third preseason game, if you want to consider it like that. They've got the starters out there. They're feeling things out. I never felt like we were in trouble. I think I probably would have had a different mindset had Etienne scored on that. And I love the comment about it was a deliberate act by Javon Holland. There's no doubt about that. He knew where he was going with that punch, and he struck gold. And speaking of striking gold, it's time for them to pay him, in my opinion. Go ahead and give that man his money. I appreciate your accolades about my positivity and my optimism. I was not ever worried, but I do want to make this clear. That Jacksonville team is a good ball club. They are well coached, and there's no shame in the struggles that the Dolphins had in the first half at all. They worked it out. They had some things happen. And one last thing. We talked. You just mentioned the pass to Tyreek right after the turnover. Then there was a punt or the fumble on the return.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the only place where you could say, just like years past, we didn't get that fumble. In the big picture, I was really, really happy with the way they played from about the 3-minute mark in the first half all the way through the end.
Absolutely. Jake, we're going to talk about the defense a little bit more later during the Outmakers segment, but you certainly, for sure, have to, impressed by Anthony Weaver, like Steve said, the changes, the adjustments. Anthony Weaver certainly proved to keep the mind on the game and certainly willing, different to find you to make adjustments on the fly if it was needed.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out to me, and I wanted to ask you guys about this. So Jalen Ramsey was playing about 80% of snaps. They had Jalen Phillips playing around 70%. I thought they did a really good job of rotating these guys out. But there's never a bad time to talk about Storm Duck, right? He had 2 tackles. He was the guy who was taking over for Jalen Ramsey. And it's so hard not to think of a scenario like that, right? Where what was Anthony Weaver's mindset? What's the criteria here where we're going to put in someone like Storm Duck? And it got me thinking about the idea of when you look ahead to the Buffalo Bills and this game Thursday night, Josh Allen spread the football around like nobody else. I wonder if the Dolphins, they spoke about it for 2 weeks, the idea of we have to focus on 2 games here. We're playing on Sunday and then again on Thursday. So I wonder if there's something here where the Miami Dolphins are already trying to ease in some of these guys to be in these dimes, some of these packages that have more defensive backs where they're comfortable going out there against someone like Josh Allen.
Absolutely, they had to, because the preseason you didn't have the opportunity to have the Jalen Ramseys out there, the Kendall Fullers. You need to get all of those top players out there and get – and frankly, when Storm Duck was out there playing, he wasn't playing against the first teamers. Right. He wasn't getting that exposure to the top wide receivers on each team. And it's a phenomenal way for him to get him worked into the fold while still leveraging 80% of the time with Jalen Ramsey. No doubt about it. Great point.
So, Jason, what are your thoughts about the whole mindset of the defense? Again, we're going to talk a little bit about the defense a little bit later, but we were certainly made some adjustments. But before we talk about I've been waiting for a while to ask this to Jason. Jason, our friend, our Fins TV crew member, Eddie Chap was going to say I have it on Mike McDaniel, but for me, I was really frustrated with the play calling for Mike McDaniel at the beginning of the game. A lot of not adjusting to the game plan today for being the first game. I expected a more complex game plan, but I want to know your thoughts on the offense and the defense of the Jaguars game, Jason.
Well, I was thrilled with Mike McDaniel basically doing what he really shied away from last year, and it's 3rd and 1, you're going to run the ball, and you're going to run it right at the middle, and you're going to do it with a fullback. And the fact that he did it with Alec Ingold, last year Alec Ingold had 2 carries for the season. Last year, he had 2 carries for first downs. He did not pick up a first down last year via the rush all year. And here we are with a team that led the league in yards per carry, juxtaposed with them being last in the league in 3rd and 4th and 1 rushing attempts with only 15. So it's almost like, they can get the outside yards, they can get the big home run plays, but when we need to get 3 feet, I'm not confident. That's basically what Mike McDaniel said last year. This year, he said, you know what? I'm going to change. And that's exactly what he did. He did a goal line first, 1 yard rush with Achane. Didn't do a fade. Didn't do a wide receiver screen. He ran up with his second-year running back right through the middle, scored a touchdown. And the Ingold runs, to me, that is so loud of a tell that Mike McDaniel has learned. Like the Ivy Leaguer that he is, I mean, you can't say it enough about the education that he's had. You can't go and graduate an Ivy League school if you don't learn from your mistakes when you make them. So you can make a mistake, but don't make the same mistake twice. And that's what I think is the graduation here with Mike McDaniel to year 3. And from a defensive side of the ball, all the credit in the world goes to Anthony Weaver for doing what we didn't see last year. And Steve, you alluded to it as second half adjustments. Even the broadcasters were even saying Jalen Ramsey's going all over the field. And that didn't happen last year. One of the greatest defensive backs to ever play the game, who specializes in freelancing, so to speak, wasn't allowed to do his bread and butter last year. So, and Jake, you make a great point with Storm Duck and kind of adjusting for what they're going to see with Josh Allen and Buffalo. I've been dying to see 3 safeties, the 5 defensive backs, the dime looks, the nickel set. So I can't wait to the Dolphins to be put in a position where hopefully Weaver can put his players in a position to make Allen make a mistake, because there's no digs on the floor. You cover, Dalton Kincaid, you get the tight end situation taken care of, and I think they can get a couple turnovers out of Allen.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you, Jason, after 30 episodes, I was finally able to hit bingo because the word juxtaposed was used on our podcast. So I appreciate that. I win.
That's a shout out to, I got to say, that's a Mike Greenberg special. And sorry, Greeny, I know it's been a rough couple of days, but that's a guy near and dear to my heart. So that's a Greeny word right there.
I'm not sorry at all for Greeny, but that's it.
I know. I know.
So next we're going to go to our feature of the week. The time is now for the Dolphins.
Despite having that kind of trauma, distraction, issue, just everything that you go through when you have an interaction like that throws you off your game. It did throw him off his game. 7 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. An instrumental part in the turnaround that had the Dolphins down 17-7 and on the ropes.
Deep crap.
But for Javon Holland,
Play of the day.
punching the ball out.
Yeah.
Punching the ball out from Travis Etienne, or it would have been 24-7, right? Would it have been 24-7?
He's going in the end
night-night.
zone.
It would have been night-night.
And the biggest storyline, obviously, that everybody knew was just how Tyreek was going to respond to the adversity and the chaos that he dealt with earlier in that day. And now Calais Campbell is saying they put him in cuffs too. And, that's such a distraction for a team on game day, especially the best player on your team getting put in handcuffs. And then the rest of the team, as a human being, people are like, oh, man, how's my fantasy going to do? And how's this going to do? As a human being, you're like, bro, it's stressful. I'm sure that was like a stressful ordeal. He's getting embarrassed publicly right at the stadium. Everybody's coming to watch with probably his jersey on, and he has to deal with this and then go to the stadium and try to put it all to the side, put it all behind him, get motivated for this game, get locked in, and perform at a really high level.
To me, I thought Tyreek was brilliant. I didn't think Tua was as good as his numbers suggest. I know that'll shock you that I felt that way. I'm sorry. Career. But this was another way, Brew, to me, the Jags creating a way to lose.
Look, you made some good points, but Brent, I think that
we're live.
The Dolphins won this.
Wow, you're going with the breakdancers.
Yeah, and look, I saw some tendencies that I thought they're growing out of the breakdance. They held Trevor to 162 yards pass.
And we're back.
Play when Etienne fumbled, and I know a lot of times, more often than not, guys are going for the ball nowadays. But that was a great play by Javon Holland. Yeah, that wasn't a good hit and Etienne just loses the ball. That was Javon Holland going there purposely to knock that ball away.
That's what made
and
you
that's
think,
what he
like
did.
You always say,
go
to fight.
Well, yeah, I think those things they showed me a little more toughness.
Yeah.
Held them to 17 points. It wasn't a great performance by the Dolphins. I agree. Tua wasn't as great as the 336 yards, but they got it done. It wasn't just flashy and all that.
It was a gritty win.
Moving a little, and which you don't get usually from the breakdown.
Yeah, Dolphins ended up winning this game.
The Miami Dolphins are as fast a team as I've ever seen up close in person.
DJ, they are the NFL's version of the old school Golden State Warriors in terms of like the uniqueness of their style of play, but the personnel that they have. Like, it's one thing where we always kind of loosely throw out like, hey, this is a track team, yada, yada, yada. But DJ, they are a track team that almost plays a high school version of football. It is screens, sweeps, and shots. That's what you get when you deal with the Miami Dolphins. And at one point on the board, man, they put on the board like, Tua Tagovailoa is thrown for well over 300 yards. And I felt like 280 of them were yards after catch. The fact that you have to tackle these guys in space, they not only challenge your athleticism, but they challenge your fundamentals. I now understand why it's so important for them to get a home game or multiple home games in the playoffs. If they play at home in perfect conditions, man, DJ, it is a very difficult team to deal with.
Sammy, can you hear us? Okay, I'll pick it up from there. So, pretty interesting set of clips there. Clearly a lot of praise for the Dolphins. A lot of it focused on the offense and how fast they are. I mean, really, that's nothing new here. But both the Dolphins and the Bills won last Sunday. During the offseason, we saw the Bills make a lot of different moves. They purged some of the roster. I mean, you can't keep everybody when you're spending money on a lot of players. They traded Stephon Diggs, and now Matt Milano's out again, giving more emphasis that, you have to ask the question, is the time right now for Tua and the Dolphins? Jason, what do you think?
1,000%. You got to strike when the iron's hot, and it is rarely hot in Buffalo, and it's very hot in Miami, and you got to just dethrone the Bills. This is the year to do it. When the Dolphins really have shown that grittiness and that puncher's kind of chance now, when they see an opening, they got to land the haymakers now. And this is the game, hopefully on Thursday, to do it. And yeah, the door is open for a new regime in the AFC East, and football cyclical in the Dolphins and the Bills rivalries. The Bills have had their domination, the Dolphins have had their domination, and now I think that the tide is turning, and it's the toughness of this team. And we're going to go back to that Holland punch, and I think that it is so metaphorical. And it's almost like watching a boxing match. A guy is in the corner. All of a sudden, he makes one juke move in the right counter, and he's a champion. And it just literally can take one punch to turn the tide. And literally and figuratively, Javon Holland did that. And kudos to everyone who just made that game a win, especially Jason Sanders. And Steve, I don't mean to one-up you, but you know that Jason Sanders has never, ever missed a clutch kick in his life? Seven of seven.
I didn't realize that up until the broadcast team tried to jinx us by throwing that stat up there before the 52-yarder to win that game. And I've got to say, I don't appreciate that too much as I do love Kevin Harlan. But
I will say...
No, please, go ahead. No, go.
In addition to that, he has the longest active streak in the NFL of kicks made in under 2 minutes of a game. So with 11 now, you could miss in the third. You could miss in the first. But when your team is asking you to win a game, Jason Sanders, time in and time out, says, yeah, no problem. And he's done.
I don't want to. We can hear you, Sammy. I don't think that we're in a. Okay. We've always been in a microwave society, but let's be real. Social media is here. I love my food fast. Everybody wants to live in the now, and the negative things last much longer than the positive things, unfortunately, in people's memories. And so if Jason Sanders misses that first kick, I'm like, everybody's throwing up their hands saying, oh, here we go again. And then he comes out and he drills those other ones, and you're like, thank goodness, he showed up. And that showed moxie. It's to your point of saying the Bills have had that dominant time for a while. And, it's time for us to, come back off the ropes. We said it last year a lot of times on the show here, Sammy, that up against Philly and then Kansas City and the Bills, we got hit really hard and we never got back up. And then Jordan Poyer came out and, said the same types of things. So, fantastic points. And Jake, what do you think is going to be one of the biggest keys for us being able to capture that the time is now?
It's so hard to believe. And it's so hard to believe I'm the one that's bringing up this stat that the Miami Dolphins in the 1970s went 20-0 against the Buffalo Bills. Since the year 2020, the Buffalo Bills are 8-1 against the Miami Dolphins.
Matt was in college back then. It's great. Go ahead.
So,
Jake, that's a great. Oh, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
I just have two thoughts here. One, Steve, I wanted to ask you, considering the microwave society, do we still hate Mike White for being on the Buffalo Bills? Because about 2 weeks ago, all of Dolphins Nation absolutely hated Mike White for signing the Buffalo Bills. Did we forget that yet, or is that still?
I forgot about it until Sunday night. Sunday night, it popped back into my head. I'm like, damn it. They pulled the Belichick move, one classic one out of their books. Because that reality is, who's their backup quarterback up there? Trubisky?
And he was hurt, so I think it was kind of more they just needed a backup for a couple weeks and, turn it into the drama. I get it.
It's easy to look at that and say that that's a reason why maybe, Mike White's agent was just dead set on him trying to close out the entire AFC East. But I don't know. I'm not too sure.
So when you look at those 2023 games, though, I mean, that 48-20, and you consider that 8-1 record since the 2020 season, it's the Red Sox and the Yankees. It is Pedro Martinez going up to the podium, absolutely defeated. They're our daddy. There is absolutely nothing we can do about that. And it's so hard to see Josh Allen do this every single week. He'll have the turnovers, but at the end of the day, he'll have the ball when he needs it the most, and he'll go out and score. So I wanted to kind of bounce it back to you guys. How did we feel about the Miami Dolphins edge rushers? Chop Robinson. I mean, we had Emmanuel Ogbah get a sack. Jalen Phillips is called the closer. But are these guys ready to slow down Josh Allen for 4 quarters?
Matt, what do you think? We got it in us?
Yeah, for first things first, I want everybody on this panel to understand that Steve is still mad at Pete Stoyanovich for missing a field goal in '94. So it's par for the course.
I grew up in Western New York. You take away those bragging rights, it really upsets you.
Steve, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
You're fine.
Okay.
The pressure on Josh Allen is critical. It's critical with every quarterback, but especially him because he's not normal. He's a stallion back there, right? And, he breaks containment, and it might be 25, 35-yard punishment if we're not disciplined. So we have, I think it was well proven on Sunday. Robinson didn't have the impact that we might have hoped he had, but he did have a good first showing for a rookie. Ogbah, I have been a fan of his forever, and I feel like we should have kept him on the team for ever since the first time we signed him. It seems like he's always in the right place at the right time. And Jalen Phillips, what more can we say about that kid that hasn't been said? I'm stunned that he played on Sunday, and even more so that he played as well as he did. It's as if nothing ever happened. So if we can keep that pressure on with our front. Let's not forget Zach Sealer and in his efforts. If we can keep that pressure on that front line and keep containment on Allen, he will make mistakes. He will make mistakes because he will. I don't want to say he'll panic, but if the pressure's on him, he's going to start looking for an out. And he doesn't have Stephon Diggs anymore. He doesn't have the most reliable set of hands that he's ever had on his team. But what he will have on Thursday night is Jalen Ramsey, Kendall Fuller, Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, who it might be the X factor here, no pun intended, because he knows Josh Allen's tendencies in these types of situations. So the pressure is critical. Keeping containment is critical. You can make him make mistakes and turnovers. We just talked about the Etienne fumble. Turnovers are the difference maker in this league.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Chop Robinson, Matt, and I think we got to be fair. Other than, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we've got Micah Parsons. What other prospect out there coming off the edge has the league seen that they've said that guy's going to have an instant impact? Because I didn't have a big expectation for Chop to come out this game, so I'm just curious if any of you all really had thought he was going to come out there and light it up.
That was the only reason.
I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, to be quite honest with you, he's a guy who has, with all the raw skills that he has, there's still a little bit of that developmental kind of, coachability aspect to him. And, way back when, sometimes it takes a week, a month, a little bit for that rookie to kind of get that footing. And I'm not saying he doesn't have it yet. He did okay. He didn't really register a stat, but he got off out of his rushes okay from what I saw. It's not like there's anything to worry about. He wasn't dominated. But, give this guy, 2-3 more games under his belt, and I think that he is going to stack reps and performances. I think that there's going to be kind of a momentum to his particular play. And, Jalen Phillips didn't start his career like a gangbuster, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
He
look
was
at what we're looking at now.
He was the quarterback hit king and not getting the sacks. Everybody was so pissed off because he wasn't getting the sacks. He was getting so close, but wasn't getting home.
And like when you watch it, it's almost like you could say like he's doing, what does a guy got to do to get the statistic? But forget the statistic, it's the pressure. Jalen Phillips, 6 pressures, I believe. So regardless of getting that 1 sack, which was phenomenal, what happens on those other plays where there is the pressure? So on those plays that Chop Robinson is continuing to do to maybe take something out of what another one of his teammates are doing, Jalen Phillips helped a lot of his teammates, So let's hope that continues to be the case from what I saw. But there's no panic button push. There's no worry of Chop Robinson. He's too good, too skilled. And it's a matter of time, I believe, until Anthony Weaver says, all right, boom, now we're rocking and rolling with Chop.
I completely agree with you guys, but just think about the thought process that went into drafting that edge rusher at 21st overall. This was a team that was down 2 premier pass rushers with season-ending leg injuries, and I completely agree that this is no time to give up on. It's been 1 game. This isn't even like a thought that's going through our heads, but there's an understanding that it's going to take this player time to develop. So when you are drafting for your team and you consider that you have these 2 elite players coming off of season-ending injuries, I think you might want someone who can maybe help out earlier in the season than you might expect, which I completely understand letting Chop Robinson develop. But I think this edge rushing group is going to be a little bit of a weakness early in the season, at least as we wait for someone like Bradley Chum to come back. I think they tried to patch the bridge with Shaq Barrett. Obviously, Emmanuel Ogbah's been doing well in his role, but I'm not against the Chop Robinson pick, but when you're thinking about the thought process and the Miami Dolphins are in this win now type of mode, Chop Robinson was never going to come in and be a week 1 3 sack guy. That just wasn't the case.
No, I don't think he was. And it was, Matt, you brought up Ogbah. The guy, I be the first person to say I didn't enjoy or really appreciate, what was it, $17 million a year Ogbah? And I don't know what his deal is right now, but it's a lot less than that. But every single time he's been asked to show up, every single time he's asked to show up, he shows up and he delivers. How many batted balls does he have? It's not always about the sacks, to your point, Jake. It's what do they do to disrupt? When Jalen Phillips is in Josh Allen is prime for this. You knock him off of his game, get hands in his face and everything. If he's not flopping on his butt and getting flags in his favor, he's making mistakes with the football. And that's what we need. We just need a disruptive force, but we really need, and I think we're going into the Bills game in the game ahead here in a couple of days, but we really need to remain disciplined and keep those running lanes. Stick to your assignment. Keep the edges locked down. Keep somebody, if they're having 3 safeties, have somebody stay home to stop those types of things. But if we're talking about like the time is now, the time is always now. In my mind, I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed in my life at 2025, 2026. I want the time to be now all the time. I think that we have injuries happen, off-season moves always happen. The teams aren't always going to remain dominant. And I think Miami has the tools in place. I really think Jordan Brooks was picked up as an answer to trying to contain the Josh Allens. And just Calais Campbell, he's going to be in there and be a disruptive force. So I think that the time to set that precedent is now. Home field, prime time, Thursday night, throwbacks. I think the time is to make a statement. I'll take it early in the season. I don't care when in the season it is, but just deliver what we know that we're capable of.
Absolutely. I'll give you one more X factor that I'm looking for. Jordan Brooks is a great name. I think that in both of those boxes that you have to check, tight end, mobile quarterback, put him in that spy scenario, whether it be, stopping Allen or just taking care of that second level. Another guy that I think is going to be, You mentioned the Mike White scenario. What about Saron Neal having that knowledge of Buffalo from a cornerback's perspective as well? Now, if he can get his wish and play a little bit more defense, which he wants to do, he wants to be beyond the special teams player. Maybe he is getting a little bit more action because he knows Josh Allen's, tells.
Jordan Poyer in the same
Here can be
We
huge
know that
educational players.
We know that this game is situational from week to quarter, down to down. And that's a terrific point. You bring him in because he's got knowledge of that team. Not much has changed outside of personnel losses. The most important person there is 17. I would be shocked if you didn't see more playing time for him just because of what he knows coming over from Buffalo.
I'd have a blitz package for Saron Neal. Third and 6, 3rd and 7. Put Neal in. Neal knows the shimmies. He knows the ins and the outs of Josh Allen. It might take one play like that, one play to force Allen to make a mistake. He makes mistakes. You force him to make the mistakes.
100%. What's up, Sam?
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can
Absolutely,
hear me.
We can hear you. We're just having a
Okay.
conversation here, man. But
I love it. We have over 530 on all platforms watching right now. I want to appreciate it. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me.
we've been able to hear you for about 10 minutes now. We're just yucking it up.
But I don't. I ask Sherry. The African feed can hear me. I have no idea if they can hear me. So please ask Sherry if she can hear me. Sherry, can you hear me? Let me know in the comments. So next, we'll go next to odds makers. We're going to play some odds maker. Basically, it's the percentage. What percentage you give to the premise? The per premise is what percentage do you give the Dolphins this year in a top 10 defense under Anthony Weaver? I'm going to start with you. Take it away, Steve.
The chances of what?
Of the Dolphins defense being a top 10 defense under Anthony Weaver after that performance on Sunday.
Are we giving a 57? Are we giving a percentage here? What do we?
Yeah, from 1 to 100. You played that before.
1 to 100. Okay, 100. Well, I'm just making sure. I don't know. 100 being the best. I really think that they have the opportunity to replicate what they put out there in the second half, and I really think that a very old wise man once told me that you can't make judgment calls before the first week of the season. And I'll one up Matt. The old wise man, and tell him that you really can't make judgment calls on a season before the first half of the first game of the season is up. I really do believe that I put it at about 70% chance that they can be a top 10 defense this season.
How about you, Jason? What are your odds you give the Dolphins to have a top 10 defense on the Anthony Weaver in 2024?
That's a really good number. I don't want to. I was the number I literally was thinking of, Steve. I don't want to, repeat it, but I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to go 70, and I'll spike it to 75% with my faith in Weaver. They were a 7th ranked defense, in metrics last year across a lot of top 10 numbers. Now I think. Are you asking to vastly improve that? There's different people in there, so maybe not a vastly improved scenario, but I don't think there's going to be a regression. So 70-75% right in that sweet spot.
Well, here's where I want to see it. I want to see them, Jason, to your point, improve where they weren't as good, and they gave up a lot of touchdowns last year. Avoid the need to do the shootouts, keep the other teams out of the end zone, force more punts, more field goals, because that was one of the metrics I think that we were really bad in. Jake, I don't know what your thought was.
The shootouts kind of hurt the Dolphins, and I think that might even just be an issue of having to deal with this offense. I was looking at last year, and the Dolphins ranked 10th in yards. The year before that, they were about 17th, and for that reason, I think I'm going to put it at about a 35% chance if we're talking about a top 10 defense in terms of yards and everything like that. Look at the way this roster is constructed. Last year was an absolute superhero team with the depth on the defensive line. I mean, Andrew Van Ginkel goes to Minnesota and he's scoring a pick six on his first play. Where the Dolphins might struggle in the game by game, giving up a couple extra yards, maybe struggling against the run, you're hoping that you have guys like Calais Campbell, who at 38 years old, you can't expect him to be a top tier player for 100% of snaps. But what you can expect is for him to go out there in the first play and get a 14-yard sack. Jordan Poyer, he's not going to be the 140 tackle guy he was in Buffalo, but if you saw last game, he was inches away from a pick six. So the way the Dolphins developed this defense with some of these veterans coming in, I think they're going to try to lean in, maybe not the Brian Flores do or die by turnovers, but really hope they can get a couple extra takeaways with guys like Javon Holland and just flat out playmakers across the field that can maybe mask some of the issues about maybe not being on the ball or having your top game all 17 weeks.
Absolutely. How are you, Matt? What are your chances from 1 to 100 you give the Dolphins of having a top 10 defense in 2024?
100%.
Of course.
I'm so stoked about the whole Anthony Weaver coming over from Baltimore. You know, over the years watching the Baltimore, their constant's always been defense, always. You know, if the world turned upside down and everybody was running the run and shoot, the Ravens would still be able to stop it, in my opinion. So Anthony Weaver coming over, I have faith that he will be able to instill the things that he's done in his previous stop. I think that we have the players. It's always going to be dependent, and I'm always going to measure this statement by saying health is the key here. Jake just mentioned Calais Campbell staying healthy at 38. I'm not betting against him. I jumped up off the couch when he sacked Lawrence on the first down. Right. It's always going to be dependent upon health. Last year, showing out the way they did, even though injuries were taking their toll on both sides of the ball. But I said 100%. I am positive that this is a top 10 defense, staying healthy as they get through the season.
Absolutely. Next, what percent chances you give the Dolphins of after that performance from defensive line last week? A lot of good passing, but not a lot of running. To have a 1,000-yard rusher behind the offensive line. Go first to Jason. Jason, what else you give the Dolphins to have a 1,000 rusher in 2024?
Oof. Now, this is a tough one because there's not one back who could get consistently 20 carries a game. But I'm not going to be the guy to say that the Dolphins can't have a combined rushing total between those two of Mostert and Achane, as well as Wilson and Wright. So is there going to be one 1,000-yard rusher? I will say 49%. But I don't want to say 50-50 because I know someone's going to yell at me.
Well, no, you gave a lot of arguments there for why they wouldn't, which I tend to agree with you. Then you went kind of high. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Well, because I think it can happen, but after seeing a lackluster rushing performance, and obviously knowing where this team gets their yards, I get that. But you could have two running backs here with 950, 975, another one with 340, another one with 427. You know what I mean? So the overall number is going to be good, but I'm not going to go run money to the bank saying that the Dolphins are going to cash in on a 4-digiter this year for sure. But it could. I'm not saying it's not. The ultimate hedge right there. The ultimate hedge right there, everybody.
How about you, Jake? What percent chance did you give the Dolphins of having a 1,000-yard rusher in 2024?
A wise man once said that short passes are also an extension of the run game as well. And when you consider that Raheem Mostert only exceeded 100 rushing yards twice last year and he barely eked over that 1,000-yard mark, I'm going to have to sit 1 in 3 chance. I'll go with like a 33% chance the Dolphins have a 1,000-yard rusher. I just think there are too many weapons for Miami to use one guy that much. I could see even 3 guys getting between 750 and 950 even. But just considering Raheem Mostert last year was the first time in the Mike McDaniel era that anyone's going over 1,000 yards. And God, before that, who would be the last 1,000-yard rusher for the Dolphins? Ajayi? Because it definitely wasn't Gaskin, I don't think, right?
Ajayi.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not the easiest thing to do. Yes, the
2016.
Dolphins have a dynamic rushing attack. There's just too many mouths to feed. I don't think one guy's going to reach 1,000.
How about you, Matt? What chances you give the Dolphins from 1 to 100%? The Dolphins having a 1,000-yard rusher in 2024.
17 games, that's a little under 59 yards a game. I can get 59 yards a game. in a game. I could get 1,000 yards. Let me come back to reality before Steve loses a gasket over there. This is such a great question, Sammy. Combined easily, but
that's
I want to be realistic here. Anybody betting against Achane getting averaging 60, 65 yards a game rushing, he's going to break his share. Over 17 games, again, health is the caveat here. I would put it at about 45% chance that we have 1,000-yard rusher. And I would, health, I would put it at Achane being the guy.
That's interesting. How about you?
I would love to be the optimistic person here. And first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that's listening in on YouTube and providing comments. Cosa Nostra, I'm not too sure what plays you're talking about when they're talking about consecutive on the side, seam side of the field or whatever it was. But I don't disagree with you. But to your point and to everybody's point that we've made on multiple shows here is we're dealing with Coach McDaniel, who changes his game plans up, but he tends to still go back to one thing, and that's a lot of passing. He's a passing first mindset type person. And like we did say there, like Jake echoed, the short passing game is an extension of the running game. And you could have, you could have a running back there with Tua, a couple wide receivers and a tight end, and he could flip it out there to his running back, the tight end, or one of the wide receivers and pick up 3-4 yards, lose 3-4 yards. You just don't know. But he's using that to offset the inability to really be able to run. McDaniel's that zone scheme type player, and some of the defenses are going to key in on that and still drive up and not allow themselves to be pushed out and create those gaps. To address this point specifically, knowing that Mostert and Achane are already banged up a little bit, I think we're going to see Jalen Wright come in very, very soon here because, the durability was an issue last year with Achane, and we just don't know what he's going to have. Plus, Achane's been flexed out a lot of the backfield and moved out to the wide receiver spot to catch more of those passes. I don't really care. Personally, I don't care if we have 3 running backs at 800 yards each and we're 11 and 6 or 12 and 5, whatever it might be. I really don't think that we're going to have a 1,000-yard rusher this year. I'm going to put it around 30% in that range.
Absolutely. Before we go to the next topic, let's see some of the comments over here. Let's see some of the comments. Okay. Let's see. Shari Helen, let's go, of course. Lee Maris, go Fins. And I was looking for Luis, go Fins. Cosa Nostra. Evening, fellow Dolphins fan. What are your thoughts on the offensive play calling? Let me go back to the screen here. He wants to know your thoughts about the offensive play calling.
I'm
Jason.
interested in hearing. Yeah, go ahead.
What are we on? We're on play calling now?
Yeah. What do you think about the offensive play calling?
Cosa Nostra wants to know what are your thoughts on play calling.
I was very happy with, like I said earlier, I'm very happy with the decision to run on 3rd and 1. That's the identity that we're talking about. When we go on the road, when there's a bad weather situation, when the crowd noise is loud. Do you know what the best way to shut a home crowd in the snow, with the rain, with the wind up, is to not say a damn word and to let the linemen block and let running backs run forward. And then there's a dilapidated defense with their hands on their hips and the clock continues to move. Now, they should be able to do that at home simplistically. I was shown that there is a willingness to have that tough-minded, gritty fullback usage for running. I love what Alec Ingold could do in the pass game. He was used as a pass receiver more than a rusher last year by like triple the amount, quadruple the amount, because they just didn't rush with him. But now we're seeing a tide turn, as mentioned. So play calling, very, very happy with. And of course, the plays to Waddle and to Waddle and to Hill are so pristine in their design. And you add that component, you add that ground component when really needed to Mike McDaniel. And I think he can cross all the boxes off for an outstanding and one of the best play calls in the league.
They're pristine in design and pristine in execution. The views of a couple of the people on social media the last day and a half, where you see Tua moving with his hips to hit that, they think that he's going to Hill and he hits Waddle deep, and it's just Tua. It might be his plan, but to the defenders it doesn't look like his plan, and I think it's that type of execution that just they have to be able to maintain that. But I really do think on the play calling side of it, and this is what did have me a little bit frustrated, is defenders just eventually get to the point where like, we're not going to stack the box. We're going to back up here because it's McDaniel and he's not going to run the ball. So those types of plays, the Ingold, the 3rd and 1, throwing them off their game is the type of growth that I was really hoping to see more of, and hopefully it continues, as we go on through the season here.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to a couple of comments before we go. We have the A Train from the Rainy Day Pod, our friend, is going to be joining us in a future episode. Fins up, fellas, and Adrian Rainey, fins up. So next, we're going to go to we're going to talk about the Bills game. Here we go.
Miami Dolphins.
Well, it's Bills week. It's going to be huge. So let's see what we have over here. Okay. The Dolphins, after week 1, are the top 5 offense, and the Bills are ranked 11th. And on defense, the Dolphins right now have the 10th defense, and the Bills have the 11th defense. The injury report, let me see if I get it over here. Here we go. I mean, if both running backs are hurt, that's certainly a surprise, but, we'll see what happens. And the weather is a chance of thunderstorms and rain. That could be huge for the Dolphins, but that's not a surprise. I know we're running a little bit long. We had some topics to go before we go, so I want to know your closing thoughts on the Bills. What are your thoughts? I want to start with Steve. Steve, what are your thoughts on this huge matchup Thursday night against the Bills?
I mean, in general, we've got to kind of put the last week behind us. I'd say that week 1 is typically amateur hour for people who want to drive conclusions off of how did the first week go. Last year we saw the Jets, after their quarterback played 4 downs, go out, but they still managed week 1 to beat who ended up winning the division. They beat the Bills. Several years ago, the Panthers came out, won their first week, and then they proceeded to lose the rest of their 15 games that season. So this is just one of those things that I wish I had that blind, ignorant optimism that so many of the mainstream media, New York City type, the Mike Greenbergs, the Craig Cartons have, where they get out there and they talk about how great things are going to be before they crash down to earth. The problem is I don't have that. This is the pessimist in me. I have those nerves. I mentioned it earlier. Since Sunday evening, I've had those nerves, and up until kickoff and probably through the first quarter, I'm just going to have that knot in my stomach. The Dolphins came out of the locker room at halftime a totally different team against the Jaguars, and they lost a half of football. We don't always, we're not going to have, I'm not going to say we're not always going to. We don't have that luxury against the top teams. You can't give those teams a handicap of, hey, here, we're going to spot you 14 points, or we're going to spot you any points. We need to see that same team come out before the opening kickoff Thursday night and maintain that. Thursday night, prime time, throwbacks in Hard Rock Stadium. Hopefully the fans show up. We have some really good energy. Hopefully all the Buffalo Bills fans haven't been able to secure the tickets and the travel plans to come down here, and it's primarily Dolphins fans. And My key of the game: slow down and stop Josh Allen. That's it.
Absolutely. How about Jason? Jason, what you gonna think is gonna be the key to beating the Bills on Sunday?
Not to be redundant, but I'm going to be anyway. Stop Josh Allen. You got to do it. I mean, when that happens consistently, mixed with McDaniel's improved play calling, is when I look for travel plans in February.
How about you, Jake? What are your thoughts? What do you see the key to beat the Bills on Sunday? Oh, Thursday. I'm sorry, Thursday night on Prime Video.
I was really interested to hear that cornerback Teron Johnson won't be playing for the Buffalo Bills. He's a really great nickel cornerback, and I just go full Always Sunny, Charlie Day talking about the mail, going to go full Pepe Sylvia here. But as we hear about the San Francisco 49ers and what just happened with Christian McCaffrey, you can't help but wonder if the Miami Dolphins, what are the status of Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert, two guys who did not practice back-to-back days. Devon Achane was getting carries with a minute left in the ball game on Sunday. We did see Mostert get a little banged up. Obviously, it's going to be a wait-and-see type of thing. But when the Bills are out Teron Johnson, I instantly start thinking about who's that slot receiver that's going to step up. No, it's not Braxton Berrios, so I'm really hoping it's Devon Achane. You think back to that week 2 game it was last year where the Bills just ran the Dolphins out of Buffalo, and it was Devon Achane early trying to keep up with the Bills, and then Miami just kind of spun out of control. I think Achane could be a real difference maker because as much as I'd love to stop Josh Allen, I don't know if it's possible.
Slow him down. Slow him down, you know. Don't let him throw for 2 touchdowns and run for another 2. Seriously, it can't happen.
Last week he put that Superman cape and he found a way to win, and you know that's good. That's a big tax for the Dolphins.
Because you want to talk about demoralizing. How many times have we been demoralized by chasing him around, thinking we have him secured on 3rd and long, and he ends up scrambling deep, and then it's a 3rd and 1 run with a fullback. Jason is fantastic, but a 3rd and 12. First down scramble by Josh Allen against us when we have them up against the ropes and it slips through our fingers and then it just snowballs from there. That's crushing. So, Matt, I don't know, Matt. I don't know if your neck is stiff or if you're just reacting to my comments. I never can tell.
Not reacting to your comments at all.
Thank goodness.
I usually do that when it's my turn to talk. So, today has brought me back in time to last year's first game against the Bills, and I use the term "punched in the mouth" regularly, and that's as close as you could possibly get to being actually punched in the mouth as a fan. We went into that game, we were very excited, we were upbeat. Even Steve was upbeat about it. Crazy. And then we got punched right in the mouth. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And it wasn't a 23-20 deal or, a 23-21 deal. It was, we got smoked. And I would hope that whatever lessons we learned from that game will carry over to this year. Poyer's on the ball club. Saran's on the ball club. There's got to be tons of information that they've gleaned from those guys alone. What I said earlier still stands. Figure out a way to contain 17. Figure out a way to minimize the damage that he creates both with his arm and with his legs. And if we can do that and the rest of the game plan is functional, we've got a really good chance to be 2-0 late Thursday night.
I think, to your point, Matt, I think it's good to have Saran and Poyer on the team, but let's be real. I don't think that they're going to give us any secret ingredients to what has owned us in the past. No. Here's the difference this year over last. It's those veteran presences. It's the Jordan Poyers, it's Saran Neals, it's the Calais Campbells on this team, and the Dolphins from last year that are tired of getting their butts kicked around the field and being told you were just known around the league as the team that was going to get knocked down and just kind of crawl to your corner and not get back up. Wait for somebody to throw the towel. That we have a different team now. I don't think in the past I kind of felt like Tua had to manufacture these types of things. Maybe he didn't feel like he was entitled enough to be the leader. to hear that he went into that halftime and really lit people up, and not in a negative way, but to say, hey, you've got to pick yourself up. That's what I think is the different ingredient that the Dolphins have this year. Not downplaying at all what you're saying. You're 100% right. But I think it's a collective plus the maturation and just the experience that this team has year over year.
100% agree with you. I feel like the things that those two players alone bring are the things that can't be picked up on film study. The actual in game, this is what he'll do, and it may not make a difference at all. But if they share any bit of info that helps them, keeping him from running roughshod all over the place, it's got to be beneficial. And everything you just said about the veteran leadership, I agree. And one last thing, I want to tell you that my new favorite movie is Friday Night Lights. I had never seen it until last year. I was on a flight to someplace and I watched it. And if you've seen it, you know the scene I'm talking about when Ivory Christian loses it in the state championship halftime. He just goes off. And when they were talking about Tua lighting into his teammates, I flashed back to that scene in Friday Night Lights. And I'd like to believe that that's what he did. He got them so fired up they came out. And you know what? That's the maturation of the number one player, literally and figuratively, that you want to have that. You don't want that to be your cornerback. You don't want that to be a safety. You don't want that to be a center. You want that to be your leader, the guy who everything revolves around. And hearing everybody talk about him going off and calling out, like you said, not in a negative way, but calling them out, telling them they have to step up. And listen, the Jaguars didn't do jack in the second half of that game. They might as well have not been on the field. So did it make a difference? I think so. I'm looking forward to Thursday.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to run a little bit late, so let's go straight ahead to the big finish. Well, over 815 watching on all platforms. We want to ask you to please go ahead and please go to YouTube. Please subscribe. Give us a like. Give us a comment. You can follow the hardest working man on Dolphins Nation, Jason Sarney, at Jason_Sarney. Jake, you're our friend house on Dolphins Coscast. You're doing a great job. Where can they find you, Jake?
Yeah, I'm just JMendel94 on Twitter and another Dolphins podcast. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's go before we go to this week, the official Fins TV top 5 power rankings. Number 5, the Cowboys. They had a huge win over the Browns. The Eagles at number 4 by beating the Green Bay Packers. The Lions with a huge win, a very physical win against the Rams. At number 2, the 49ers doing us the favor of opening the Cowboys on the New York Jets. And at number 1, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, what are your thoughts, Steve? What are your thoughts of the official Fins TV top 5 power rankings?
Well, I wasn't polled for this, but I have to say you have them pretty close here. You really can't disagree with having the Chiefs number 1. It's just kind of a disgusting thing when the best teams keep on getting. I want to say they get better, but they fill in small gaps that they might have had before, or they compensate for players that were great, were good before, good enough. And they managed to find somebody that's even better, in Xavier Worthy. So Philadelphia, I'd have to really say, has to be my one team that how in the hell did the Giants let Saquon Barkley go to their division rival and put him behind an offensive line that's going to open up gaps for him? Philly, they really looked good. I think that their coaching and quarterback combination might be the one thing holding them back.
Absolutely. So for the Pick'em League, we are having a Pick'em League. Number 1. Here we go. That was rough for everyone. Steve Hatt at number 10, Sharon number 9, the A-Train at number 8, Frankie Fresco, our friend Matt Armstrong at number 6, Andy Simancas at number 4, Bearded Fanatic at number 4, sorry, Andy at number 5, the Fin Trooper at number 3, Tiffy Tower Terror at number 2, she's going to be joining us on probably next week, and number 1, our friend Jason Sarney.
Do all this stuff on social media and everything and still get all these picks right.
Y'all know Sarney's cheating.
He's got a time machine. He's got
what the hell?
Oh man, let me replace the speaker over here. And here's
I got bribes out all over the leagues, folks. Bribes are just all out all over the place. I got the refs in my pocket.
Oh, we want to thank the over 830 watching on all platforms. It was a huge win for the Dolphins. Hopefully, we'll be here next week to celebrate that huge win. Again, thanks to our friend Jason Sarney. Jake, you're a trooper. Thank you for hanging on with us. You're welcome every time. You know, Jason, you're almost becoming a regular, an honorary Fins crew member. You're the MVP of the show. Right, you have
we
this.
Appreciate you guys being on.
Who took the controls to those. Steve did a great job today. Well, our thoughts, of course, as always, with our friend Lisa Siegel and her campaign, the Cardinal Wednesday campaign. Our friend, of course, Eddie Chapman, who is taking care of his dad. We're pulling for his dad and for Eddie. So, guys, it's been a huge week. We'll see you next week. And, of course, when you're talking Miami, you're talking Super Bowl.
Fins up, guys.
Thanks for having me. Fins up, guys.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe.